Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, last minute predictions. The fight goes down in a matter of hours. Let's get right into it then, starting with Richard Riakporhe versus Tommy Welch. I first went with Richard Riakporhe via unanimous decision. That's why I'm still sticking with. I think Tommy Welch has quick hands and can still stand his ground against Richard Riakporhe pretty well. I expect Richard Riakporhe to be pretty convincing in this fight. I think Richard Riakporhe, obviously is operated at the much higher level. And I feel like, he's going to be pretty well settled into heavyweight. I thought towards the end of his cruiserweight spell, it wasn't too great. Let's be real. The guy is very clearly naturally a heavyweight. So I think this goes much better for him. But I think Tommy Welch is pretty underrated. And I think he's pretty fast with his movement. I think he's got pretty good footwork as well. I think he can set up some decent angles where he can get some good solid shots in against Richard Riakporhe and definitely gain and earn his respect in there with his power and his speed. But I expect Richard Riakporhe to be overwhelming for him. I expect Richard Riakporhe to be too strong for him. And I expect the jab of Richard Riakporhe to be a really key weapon in this fight. So I'm going with a Richard Riakporhe unanimous decision win. We then go to Sam Gilley versus Ishmael Davis. And yeah, I first predicted Sam Gilley to win. I'm still saying Sam Gilley's going to win. Ishmael Davis is dangerous for anyone, though. I always say he's dangerous for anyone. 3 losses in a row, though. Josh Kelly, Bowershak, and Ajarko. Obviously, yeah, he is coming off a win against a journeyman, though. I think it was in a 6-rounder or something like that. But really, at a high level, he's 3 losses in a row for him. He needs to win this Ishmael Davis. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult to see where he goes now. He arguably did beat Ajarko, though. Like, it was a good fight. It drops him as well. It was a good competitive fight, but I thought Ishmael Davis probably nicked it. I think Sam Gilley's going to be too powerful for him, though. I think Sam Gilley's good, and I think Sam Gilley's, different to a lot of these guys that he's been in there with. He's different to Ajarko. He's different to Josh Kelly. I think Sam Gilley, can box well, but he's also got some real deadly power, which I think can really trouble Ishmael Davis. Ishmael Davis is always really going to be stronger than you, but has he fought a guy with big power like Sam Gilley? It's going to be an interesting fight. Obviously, Bowershak hit hard and had the timing. Definitely, obviously, he's a different level to Gilley, but I think Gilley is... I think Gilley is very dangerous for Ishmael Davis, and I expect it to be a competitive fight. I expect Sam Gilley to win a decision, though. But Ishmael Davis has got to win. Like, this is a must-win. He can't afford to lose. So his attitude fight night is going to be really interesting to see. I don't mind who wins. It'll be nice to see Ishmael Davis win, but if Sam Gilley wins, it could be very interesting to see what he could push on for. So both guys have got pressure on them in the fact that Gilley's got a big fight if he wins. Ishmael Davis, if he loses, it could be career done. So it's interesting, but I'm going with Gilley. Okay, next up then we got Jack Catterall versus Echo Essuman. My original prediction was Echo Essuman. I have to stick with Echo Essuman. I have to. It's an interesting fight, though. It is. I think it's the most interesting fight on the card, probably other than the main event. But I think it's a really intriguing fight. Catterall can win. Essuman can win. I think Essuman's just going to be that bit more active than Jack Catterall. I think Echo Essuman's going to throw when he has to. Jack Catterall's good at measuring the distance, so I'm making you hesitant coming in. But Essuman, again, he's called the engine for a reason. And I think he's going to really dig deep into Catterall's body, kind of rip him apart at times there. That's what he is going to have to do. And I don't think he's really going to care too much about the jab at Catterall. And I think the thing is as well, Essuman is very good at absorbing punishment. He's very good at walking through punches to get to where he wants to be. And I think that's going to be the case here. Catterall's a good high-level boxer, but I don't think he's seen pressure like Echo Essuman's before them. I don't think he's seen this kind of pressure. I don't think he's seen a guy really with the engine that Echo Essuman has got. Obviously his last loss was Arnold Barboza Jr. He's coming off a win over Harlem Eubank, no Catterall. But, Arnold Barboza Jr., I think, outboxed Catterall just about. Got the better of him. I wouldn't say outboxed him, but again, he outpointed him. Echo Esserman is different. He's got a different kind of style, which Catterall hasn't seen. I think he's going to have a hard time pinning Esserman down with that jab as well, because of the way that Echo Esserman's able to shut down the range, the way Echo Esserman's able to move his head coming in. He works angles well. He's going to be a very difficult man to pin down, so I think that's going to be good for Esserman. Catterall's going to be good. I think Catterall's going to be able to dictate the pace in the first 4 rounds, but Echo Esserman's going to build his way into the fight. He's going to start throwing. He's going to be landing the way more convincing shots than what Jack Catterall will be. So I'm saying that Echo Esserman wins a decision here. Okay, next up then we go to Adam Azim versus Kurt Scooby. Kurt Scooby in that way is very fiery. Very, very, very fiery. It's going to be interesting to see what he does here. I think he could land some decent shots over the top. Azim can carry his chin pretty high. My original prediction was Adam Azim mid-rounds. That's what I'm still going with. I do see a scenario where there is a decision here, though. So, again, I think the odds are on Azim to knock him out, of course, but Kurt Scooby could hang in there. And again, it's a kind of card which, if you were to put money on, it's just all fights go in the distance. Like, I actually think that's a pretty smart thing to do. Scooby could hang in there and actually could give Adam Azim more of a fight than we think. So I said I was going with the same thing, but again, now I'm kind of switch up. I'm not sure. I'm definitely going with Azim to win. Scooby's fiery. I think, he knows this is a massive chance. It's a massive opportunity for his career if he can do something here in this fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how he comes at it. But again, he's got a kind of style where he's not going to just stand at Adam Azim's range. He's going to come and he's going to look to back him up against the ropes. He's going to look and try and land bulking shots, which could catch Azim and his chin off guard. That's the only thing with Azim, is just he's pretty lanky, leaves his chin in the air. Scooby's got a good style to really whack overhands. So he could get to Azim at times. You never know, he could hurt him. I think when I first did my original prediction video, I don't think I was considering a possible stylistic threat that Scooby might have over Adam Azim here. So, yeah, this actually could be an interesting scrap in my opinion. It could be a fight which goes under the radar, but is actually pretty intriguing, to be honest. That's now what I am starting to think. But I'm going with an Adam Azim win. Then we go to Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. And, original prediction was Conor Benn, mid-round knockouts. Mid to late rounds, I'm still saying for Conor Benn. Now, I think Eubank's adjusted much better to the weight this time, though. But I don't really like changing my predictions up completely and doing a complete U-turn. But what I will say is that I'm much more confident in Chris Eubank Jr. than I previously was at the start of this week. I think you can tell by looking in his eyes at that way and in that face-off. There's a lot more about him. Going into that first fight, I was really unsure on Eubank of how he was looking. He looked kind of soulless in that first face-off, like horribly drained. I think, he's looking fine this time around. And also as well, he's like a whole pound lighter than he actually weighed in. A pound and a half, actually, from what he was going to the first fight. So he made the weight much easier. I don't know if... Yeah, it's interesting. I still think dehydration is going to play a factor, though, doing it twice. And overall, I don't fully know what Eubank's punch resistance will be like. In my opinion, in my head, I'm still questioning that now because of what happened in that first fight and him having to do that again. Even though there's a lot more about him, in my opinion, in this build-up. Just looking at him after the way he's cut weight, so I'm much more confident in what I was in him, but I still think Conor Benn can really get to him and hurt him and get a stoppage winner. So, yeah, they are my last-minute predictions. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you for watching.